Off to the 4th Backroads and Bourbon event by KG Expedition Recon. It is an annual event held on the third weekend of April. Backroads and Bourbon is a backcountry route view of bourbon country while visiting multiple distilleries. This event, as in years past, included Frankfort and Bardstown distilleries over 2 days. Friday arrival was recommended, but it rained Friday night and the temperature was low and near freezing, so I went down Saturday morning. Since the spring of 2018, KG Expedition Recon has been guiding adventure trips across the Midwest to promote awareness for wounded heroes. With each group, they include a wounded hero and their family. They also encourage first responders and veterans to be a part of these events to show support and awareness to the wounded heroes' needs. Our day begins at the Taylorsville State Park. Darren of KG Expedition, as in years past, has a campsite in the group area camping. Happy cold campers getting ready to go. At 8:45, our journey begins. In this year's caravan, the event has 17 vehicles from 4 states. To this day, Bulleit bourbon is distilled and aged in the Bulleit family tradition. High rye content gives it a bold, spicy character with a distinctively smooth, clean finish. Kentucky limestone filtered water provides a foundation for the bourbon's character, while charred American oak barrels lend a smoky backbone. Their aging philosophy is simple: we wait until our bourbon is ready. Whiskey Thief Distilling Company in rural Franklin County is a celebration of single-barrel bourbon crafted by single-batch distillation. Located on a 127-acre working farm in the heart of Kentucky, their 10-year-old distillery combines a unique thieving experience with the bluegrass hospitality for a one-of-a-kind whiskey adventure. Definitely a hidden gem for the bourbon wanderlust. Jason Kepard and his wife of Sasquatch Overlanding got a new, to them, Tacoma to go with their Tundra. For over 200 years, Buffalo Trace Distillery has been defined by dedication to one craft, making fine bourbon. Throughout the challenges of floods, fires, tornadoes, and even prohibition, the American family-owned Buffalo Trace Distillery has never compromised. A timeless dedication to respecting the past while fearlessly innovating for the future has served them well for more than 2 centuries. No matter what the challenge, be it Mother Nature or man, the people of their distillery have been a part of the story that shaped America. In 1887, Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr. built a new kind of distillery destination in Millville, Kentucky. Inspired by a European architecture, the site featured a castle, a classical spring house, a sunken garden, and botanical trails. What he built became a birthplace of bourbon hospitality and tourism. Prohibition forced the closing of the distillery in 1920. Over the next century, the property changed owners and occupants several times, eventually falling into ruin. In March of 2022, Castle and Key Small Batch Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey became the first bourbon distillate that has been distilled and released at the historic Old Taylor Distillery in nearly 5 decades. From Old Crow to Glens Creek Distillery, David Meyer, the owner of Glens Creek Distilling, has always had a love for where things are made, how they are made, and the level of craftsmanship that went into their making. He happened upon the Old Crow Distillery. Seeing the exorbitant level of craftsmanship that went into the old buildings and seeing the state they were in after being abandoned for 30 years brought a mixture of sadness for the current state and intrigue for what it must have been like in its prime. David started to research the history of the Old Crow Distillery to get a better feel of what the role of the old distillery played in the bourbon industry and Kentucky. He recreated a new bourbon produced in the style of Dr. Crow, something that Dr. Crow would drink and approve of. The road ahead to restore and preserve these great buildings is a long one, but one that everybody at the distillery is willing to undertake. Premium Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey has been distilled on Wild Turkey Hill for generations. Perched 275 feet above the Kentucky River, the Wild Turkey Distillery's breathtaking location makes it an exciting tour stop. Their bourbon is different for a good reason. Made with premium ingredients for over 75 years using only quality-tested non-GMO corn, baker's grade rye, and proprietary yeast. Born in Kentucky. Spanish-style architecture at this distillery is as unique as the single-barrel and small-batch bourbons produced inside. Dating back to 1888 and operating legally throughout Prohibition, one trip to the historic distillery on the scenic Salt River in Lawrenceburg and you'll begin to understand how their bourbon has become so mellow. It began when Paul Jones Jr., the founder of Four Roses Bourbon, became smitten by the beauty of a Southern belle. Legend says that he sent her a proposal, and she replied that if her answer were yes, she would wear a corsage of roses on her gown to the upcoming grand ball. When she arrived in her beautiful gown, she wore a corsage of 4 red roses. He later named his bourbon 4 Roses as a symbol of his devout passion for the lovely belle. Maker's Mark Distillery on Star Hill Farm is still doing things just like they did in 1953. From the old letterpress to the way they hand rotate every barrel and hand dip every bottle of Maker's Mark. The campus-like setting in Loretto, Kentucky on the banks of Hardin Creek is one of the most beautiful distilleries in the state. Established in 1805 as a gristmill distillery, Maker's Mark is the oldest working distillery on its original site. It is also a national landmark. The beautifully manicured grounds are a functioning arboretum, hosting more than 275 species of trees and shrubs, and makes for an ideal picnic spot.
We go to Bart's it's a really cool small town restaurant.
The Beam family was there at the start of the Kentucky bourbon business. It all began when a man named Jacob Beam sold his first barrels of corn whiskey called Old Jake Beam around 1795. His distillery was located not too far from where Limestone Branch is today. 7 generations later, brothers Stephen and Paul Beam started their own chapter of the family history book as the proud Kentucky bourbon distilleries behind Limestone Branch Distillery. A perfect combination, a good cigar, a strong Bloody Mary with bacon salt, and straight Kentucky bourbon. This is our last stop on the Backroads and Bourbon tour. Some of us are headed to Land Between the Lakes for a couple of days of camping. Log Still Distillery, located in Gethsemane, Kentucky, where faith, family, and community have a distinct bourbon flavor. Take just one sip of their spirits and you'll understand why this part of Kentucky is so special. Bourbon flowed freely here and paved the road for prosperity for nearly a century before Prohibition changed the tide of fortune. When you visit, you will find a lot of new and shiny, but what you will feel is something deep and soulful. I ended up with a sweatshirt and a bottle of gin.